Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for a Fusion World tournament that I hosted last night on my Twitch and YouTube streams. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it too if you're a part of it, and there will be more in the future, probably like the mid-March area. But this is a 64-player tournament. Honestly, I think one of the largest tournaments that we've had in the North American region for it, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you guys want to check out the VOD, it's on Twitch and YouTube, which is also linked in the description. And also big shout-outs to Brian from Stage Zero for doing the commentary with me, as well as Cosmic for being the judge and kind of TO for it as well, making sure that it ran well. So again, it was 64 players. We did have a pretty good breakdown of 5 Son Gohan Childhood, 2 Friezas, 2 Coolers, 2 Brolys, 1 of each of the Son Gokus, an Aandroidd 17, a Goku Black, and a Beerus, with the kind of like skew of like green taking about half of the meta, which I think a lot of people are seeing, clearly showing that the Gohan is like the most popular, and just between like Gohan, Frieza, Cooler, and Broly, I think those are kind of like the most popular for us, not only in the topping side, but also on like the representation, taking just under 60, or around 2/3% of the actual leader breakdown. So honestly, we got one of every leader except for Ginyu, which I was actually a little bit surprised that no one decided to bring Ginyu for this event. But I honestly think that outside of green being like obviously like the overtuned color of everything, it's in a really good meta, and that a lot of decks are viable. And it's really difficult to call some decks unviable, though I do think blue's probably kind of looking towards being like one of the worst colors in this game, but not by a large margin, just not as kind of playable at all times. So that's kind of what we saw for this one. But we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders, and we're going to start off with our first place list, which is Kody's first place, Frieza. And I kind of made a tier list just at like release, not as much as like a full tier list, but just saying like, you know what, I played a lot of Frieza, a lot of Cooler, and I feel like Frieza was just kind of like a strictly worse version of Cooler. I didn't think Frieza was as good, but then of course, per usual, whenever I make one of those predictions, they end up just winning one of my tournaments. So this obviously does have a lot of good value for a leader in this game. Being able to refresh our cards is fantastic. Being able to just have access to a lot of cards that help self-awaken, including the 2-drop blocker Zarbon, as well as the Frieza, as well as like this card is searchable with the 1-drop Zarbon, which means you're really easy at getting it. And even like after we awaken, being able to restand this 2-drop Frieza is in a good spot. So some additional cards we are adding the Ginyu. Since this only looks for Frieza army cards, it's really easy to play this card for free and just have another 20k attack for this deck, which is really nice. It does kind of restrict you out for Ginyus, which only affects the 1-drop, which did end up happening in the tournament. I don't think it was malicious, but that's just kind of like a weird interaction that I'm just letting you guys know kind of exists. And then there's also the Nias, which is also just like another copy of Zarbon. Only difference is that it is a 10k counter with the caveat that you have to add the card from life to hand. It is not optional, where this says add up to 1, it says 1. So other than that, I think it's pretty clear that like the Cooler is a really strong card for this deck, Gold and Frieza, and no copies of the 4-cost Frieza, which is pretty interesting, especially since we do have like the searcher for Zarbon, so we do have extra ways to search it there, and it just being like a big 40k body that we get to restand for free. I do think Golden Frieza does help you out, just kind of get you another turn and pressure life pretty easily with, again, like the 35k double strike, which is very strong. So I don't have much more to say. I think this is a pretty safe build for the deck. A good like if you have like 2 copies of the star deck, being able to just add a couple super rares from the set, I think is in a good spot, and it's great. Oh, last card I didn't mention, the Kui. This is really good against green. It means like Aandroidd 17, 18, or Broly can't KO this card, because if they do, then they just get rested, so they can't attack for the turn. So even if like you block with this, like the only way this is bad against yellow, but against like green decks, I think this is a really good tech card, which I think gets a lot of value. So I think that's a good add for this build here. So other than that, I think the deck is in a good spot. And again, congratulations to Kody for their first place win and for winning a box of Fusion World. Next up, we have our second place list. So this is Jonathon with the Son Gohan Childhood. I think it's pretty clear that this was the most popular deck, not only for leader breakdown, but also for like the top 16. I think a lot of people are on this deck. There's a lot of strength for it, being able to just have like an extra 15k on defense if you need to. If we have the 5 drops on Goku out, we just get to use our leader ability for free on both offense and defense, which is pretty strong. We do have like the high end of like we're running 3 copies of Aandroidd 1718, 2 copies of the secret rare, as well as the 8-drop Broly. So it's sometimes I find like this deck has a little bit trouble getting to 8 energies, but if we do get there, we're in a really good spot and being able to drop like again, like I feel like this is clearly like the most powerful card that we have in the game once we get to that energy total, and it's just really hard to remove outside of just your opponent also playing one, which is not as I guess it's a little bit more common since green's pretty common, but nothing too crazy there. Other than that, we are playing like the 2-drop Aandroidd 18, which I do like running a couple copies of that. It's a really good cycle for kind of like if you don't have like anything else to use your energy for, it's a really good target for there. And that's kind of the rest of it there. So obviously Son Gohan Childhood is very popular. I think it's in a really good spot, and you guys probably have opinions about it already. But congratulations to Jonathon for their finish there. The next up we have Russell with their copy of Cooler, and honestly if I was to say what a deck I would play for this tournament, I would probably be Cooler. Broly would probably be my backup, but I think there's just a lot of fun tools that Cooler gets. I do think like the ability from it being able to restand either an energy or a 4 or less Frieza clan is very strong, so being able to awaken early with all the ability that yellow does have to self-awaken, you're in a really good spot. He's also playing like the Raccoon Ginyu package where you can play this on 3 to make sure you go down to 4 life to help awaken, and then you can also play the Ginyu to get 3 20k attacks pretty quickly. And then after that, you get to play Frieza the next turn, and if you're awakened, attack with it twice, which is very difficult to get out of in a lot of situations. So other than that, I think this is a very good deck. It does take advantage of both Cooler and Frieza, and then Golden Frieza. 3 copies is probably where I'll end up with. 4 copies, sometimes you see it too often, but you do see it pretty consistently on that last turn, which is really helpful because this does, I feel like, the double strike just ends so many games, and even if it doesn't finish the game, being able to like stun your opponent from winning the next turn or not using like as many resources, I think it's in a good spot. So I need to try out some more Coolers and see my own personal builds for it, but I think it's in a really good spot, and Cooler is in a, I think it's great for this format moving forward, and congrats to Russell for their finish there. Next up we have Michael, which was running one of the like outliers for this event, and going X1 I think is really impressive for this too. This is not the U7 Goku, this is the starter deck Goku, which I think a lot of people, including myself in some regard, have kind of written off, but seeing a couple of his games during the stream, it just kind of made me think like there are a lot of situations where if I looked at it, this leader was just better in the current situation, right? It just meant like there weren't like a lot of, it's hard to have multiple copies of Universe 7 cards out for this leader as is, so like your leader itself isn't buffing more than 1 card per turn anyways, and then you do get the additional benefits on the defense, which is good. You get to buff up hit, which isn't like a big deal, but you don't feel like bad for playing this Universe 6 card in a Universe 7 deck, which I think is important, and you do just get some really good removal. The fact that this is also a 25k means that you are able to use this as like you become like a 30k once per turn on defense if you're awakened, which is great. Get some really good removal of some cards, and just helps you out in a lot of ways. So I think the deck was really strong. Looked like he really knew how to kind of pilot it and get the most advantage from it. Also just playing like the 4-drop Frieza, like even though this is a vanilla, it's a 35k for free if you use your leader effect on it, which is very strong, and can also just be difficult to get rid of by naturally attacking, because again it's a 30k that on defense you get 35k once per turn, which is great. So I think the build is good. I think he was a really good pilot, and just a big congrats to Michael for their finish with this Goku leader. Next up we have Aandroidd 17, so this is Mariano's build of it here. I think of all 3 green leaders, Aandroidd 17 is probably the quote-unquote worst one. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I know a lot of people are kind of swearing by the Dr. Giroux's lab variant of it, being able to just get that, it's a little bit of a slow start, but after you get it started, you do get a bunch of energy for free, which is really helpful to making sure that, one, you have targets for like losing energy, but also for making sure you get to 8 pretty consistently for using the Broly. So I do think that's kind of important for it. You also don't lose value out of cards from hand, since you just use the Aandroids that are in your drop area as it is. So I think that is helpful for this deck specifically. You do have to run some, 4 of these guys, which do like clunk up your hand every once in a while, but I do like what you get for it too. So we're running the Aandroidd 17, the Aandroidd 20 searcher for 17s and 18s. We're playing the 1-drop Goku. We're playing the 2-drop Aandroidd 18, which I do strictly like in a lot of green builds, again, as we said earlier, and just kind of the rest of the regular stuff. So some good amount of cycle and also some ramp cards. We're not playing the 5-drop Goku because we don't really lose a lot of energy in a lot of ways, and then we do kind of cap off on this 8-drop Broly, which is still very strong. Also, 4 copies of this Aandroidd 1718 is a little bit much, but again, double strike is very good in this game, and if you do ramp, it means that you get to like clear 2 usually pretty substantial bodies when playing this, which is great too. So I think that's impactful. But this is their build, and congratulations for their top there. We got 4 more lists, and we're finally talking about Broly since none of them ended up on that X1. But I still like Broly a little bit more than I do like Gohan. It was a little bit trickier to you tackle at times, and you're a little bit more specific on your deck builds. But we do have this build by Cade here, being able to kind of split the difference between like the aggressive, like super ramp version, but also I know some people like swear by like the Son Gohan childhood 6-drop that lets you heal, which is, you know, kind of helpful when you go down to 3 life, but you're 25k. Being able to heal afterwards means that, you know, you're a regular leader at 25k, which is really nice. You know, obviously you want to play the 5-drop Goku because you do have a leader effect that you can draw a card, so you don't even like lose the advantage there. You have some good ramp from Vegito Turtles and that, as well as the destructive strength. We do have a couple additional extra cards with the instant Kamehameha, the gigantic meteor, as well as the Big Bang attack for some removal, and then a top end of the Broly and such. So I think this is a good deck for what we're doing. I think there's a lot of different ways to build Broly right now too. If you want just to be more like just super ramp, if you want to get some interaction with your opponent, or there's this one which I think is like a little bit greedier on the removal side, but you can be like a little bit greedier because again, you're 25k leader, so you can get out of some you know, you can use a 5k when a lot of other leaders would have to use a 10k to get out of some swings. So I think that's important. So this is Cade's list, and congratulations for their finish there. Next up, we do have Glenn, who ended up running the Goku Black. A lot of people, including myself, to be honest, will say that this is one of the worst leaders in this game right now. I think it is like just troubled by the fact that like the thing that it does is good, but it doesn't really win the game, right? It just gets a lot of value where like playing the 6-drop on curve and being able to like play a 4 cost from your drop essentially is very strong. And if you're able to keep Goku Black around, you are able to use the when attacking skill again the next turn. But most decks are either one, faster than it, so it doesn't really have time to set up, or the other decks, which are usually the green ones, they can play like an 8-drop Broly in, you know, retaliation, get rid of this Goku Black and just pressure whatever you played with it. So it's a little bit rough for the deck, I feel like. You do get like a lot of value, but you don't really have a great way to kind of turn that to your advantage all the time, and that's kind of where you lose a lot of it. So, which is a shame because you do have like some good cards like Mai of the Future, being able to awaken pretty early with this. We also have Trunks Future being able to like bounce back a 5 or less, which is the top end for most decks, which is kind of silly. And then just some really good cards to be able to play off our Goku Black as well. So I don't have much more to say about this deck. I wish this was a little bit more viable. It's missing a little something, and I'm sure that there will be some more support for it in the future. But I don't know where it is now. But big congrats to Glenn for running it and also getting a top 16 with it as well. And then we have 2 more lists. They're both red ones. So we have Luis with their copy of Beerus. This is pretty close to a build that I've been running a lot of. I think Beerus is one of my favorite decks for this format, even though I do think it does run out of resources every once in a while. My personal opinion is that some decks just have a hard time, like Mafuba and like God Kamehameha and Time Skip like make sense when you think like there's going to be like a lot of interaction with decks and you're able to like get some really big removals, but most of the time like your opponent doesn't really play enough for these to be worth it in my mind. They are kind of nice, like Mafuba being able to get rid of a, you know, with leader effect at 25k, which is nice, but also like the God Kamehameha or also the time skip. So all of these are great removal cards, but I don't know how often your opponent's going to let you get into that removal, especially since everything can attack the turn they're played. So like hard removal doesn't have as like much of an impact as it would as like a game like One Piece, where if you can remove a card before it's able to attack, you get a lot of like good tempo for it. Things just attack already, which means that the removal is like scaled a little bit differently because of that. So some tech cards. We do have one copy of Son Goku. I'd probably run a couple more copies of this, but one is okay. We do have like the vanilla Champa. We do have the secret rare, which feels really great in this deck because you do get to like the removal consistency with this, and being able to still do the damage is really nice. You also have like the Son Gohan Adolescence, which is great because it's critical. We have the Shin, which lets you like boost our own leader to a 30k, which is cool. And Fua as well, which is just a good 10k counter, but also you can use it in conjunction with your leader effect to get rid of something really, really heavy. So I think that's about it. We also have like this Goku from the promo set. When attacking, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 10k power less and KO it, which means obviously it works really good with their leader. And then a high end of the 5-drop Goku and the Beerus. This Beerus is not too bad. It gets rid of some wide boards, which is really good, and is a 35k crit. But I still think the Goku's just like a little bit better based on how most decks play. So don't have much more on that one, but just big congrats to Luis for their top 16 with Beerus. And to round it off, we do have Zachary with their final version of the Goku. It's the U7 Goku, the Super Saiyan God one. And this one I think is pretty straightforward for how it works. We just try to get as many bodies on the board as we can. Like being able to, again, like this is a 30k Goku, which is really nice for the entire turn. We do have like the 3-drop Frieza. We do have like the Son Gohan Adolescence. We have like the Krillin as well. Being able to get rid of something and also be a 20k attack is quite nice. And then our top end of Son Goku 4-drop and 5-drop. So pretty low to the ground. We just play a good amount of 1-drops. Being able to buff them up with their leader is great. Krillin being able to be, like a 25k is in a good spot, so it can pressure the Broly at least, which is cool. Hit, we don't get the boost, but it does give something minus 5k, so you kind of get the boost, and just like the value you get from this. So this deck is usually pretty straightforward. I don't have a lot of nuance to talk about it, but big congrats to Zach for their top 16 finish there. And that's going to be it for this event. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to be making a lot more Fusion World content in the next couple weeks. And then also the live stream is going to be on Twitch and YouTube for subscribers and members respectively, and should also be re-uploaded here on YouTube in the next couple of days as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thanks again to Cosmic and Brian for helping out with this event. Make sure to be tuned in for our future events, which should happen in the next couple of weeks. And that's going to be it. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.